Dear Black people, could you stop making videos that say, "Dear white people, if you don't have a problem with people that look like me, would you be my friend?" Racism died with Gen X. As a widespread issue, that was boomers. It died with Gen X. Most of us are grandparents now, and apparently you didn't even notice. Like, we put in the work. We stopped judging people by the color of their skin, and you didn't even notice. But now we feel your judgment all the time, and we're tired of walking on eggshells because we know there's a very good chance that you probably have a problem with our skin color, and because you assume that we're racist while you're being racist. It died down so much that now youth, a lot of white youth, uses the N-bomb. I can't imagine doing that. I can't. It hurts me, but they use it casually. It's not because they're racist. Nope. It's because it's a huge part of pop culture, and it has been for 30 years, over 30 years, since hip-hop went mainstream, since gangster rap went mainstream, and the word was everywhere. And kids today are baffled by racism. They think it's so stupid that it's laughable. Yet there's a word that is ubiquitous in pop culture that a large percentage of the population just isn't permitted to use. They don't understand that. They think it's ridiculous, so they rebel against it, as kids do when they don't understand something and they see it as ridiculous and dumb. You can feel how you feel about that. I feel how I feel about it. I don't like it at all. I taught my kids to never say that word because it was a word that was created for hate. But the word has changed, I guess. I can't change the way I view it, but for them it's changed. Dear Black people, oh, I love you. I love your culture. I love your swagger. I love your hair. I love how you can speak with roundness while I speak in squares and triangles. But I also love my culture, and I love my hair, and I love my skin, and I love your skin, and I love our differences and our commonalities. And it's time to heal. If you don't focus on healing how you view white people, and then how you view yourselves in relation to white people, because the superiority complex only ever masks an inferiority complex, then we're going to be doing a civil rights movement for white people in like 20, 30 years. And I know some of you would like that. But that just says that you're the racist now because white people aren't the racists anymore. And I'm not saying there isn't a single white person who's racist. There's assholes in every group and every color. But the majority of us left that with our parents or grandparents. It doesn't even make sense to us. And we don't need to feel guilty about what our ancestors did because we're the ones that fixed it. It's over now. Unless you want to perpetuate it.
I've tried to take my own life before, simply because I was so tired of experiencing racism. Like, I am so tired of watching my white peers get better treatment and get more opportunities because they're white. I'm tired of people following me around in stores or not wanting to help me because I have color on my skin. I'm tired of people not wanting to hire me because I have color on my skin. Like, some of you might watch this video and be like, oh, well, you look white enough. You look white. I'm not white. I'm not fucking white. If you think I'm white, let's go back in time to 2008, 2010, when all the white kids in school were calling me the N-word and telling me that my skin and my hair was ugly. I'm tired of always being treated differently. And my grandmother tried to tell me when I was a little girl that people were going to treat me differently because I was brown. And I didn't know what she meant. I'm so tired of feeling like I am just so ugly and so worthless compared to white people. I'm so tired of feeling like I'm never gonna be as pretty as a white woman. Never. Like, we get tired of this shit, and I can only imagine how people who have darker skin than I do feel. Or people from different countries who have different accents than I do. I wonder how they feel. When you're a minority, you feel like you're just trapped in a prison. And it's a prison where nobody gives a fuck about you. People look at you, they think you're worthless, they think you're a whore, they think you're a criminal, they think you're a problem, they want nothing to do with you. Because of the color of your fucking skin. That's what racism is. And people don't understand that. I don't want to be this person anymore. I'm tired of getting treated like this. This is a real thing. I don't care who fucking says I have a victim mentality or I'm making it all up. This is a real lived experience of racism. And if you're white, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So stay in your fucking lane. I'm telling you what it's like to be me. I'm telling you what it's like to be a fucking minority. It's a living hell in a country full of white people who think that they're better than you because you have color on your skin.
When I see some of these white folks talks like this, I feel like personally they just want to get black people's attention, because right from the day one, you will hardly see black people making videos of dear white people, would you please be my friend? Go into your research, you'll find out that most people that do that are mostly white folks. You understand? So she coming out and making it look like maybe black people are personally looking out for attention is a no-no. And she made something very clear that racism died a long time ago. But anyways, I'm not here to argue with her. Let's roll out the other clips that I have for you guys so that we'll know if they truly died a long time ago. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. And credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you. Liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. And guys, with that being said, let's go watch, and I'll be back with commentaries.
Ever notice how most white people are very silent about racism? They're quiet about calling it out when they see it. They refuse to talk about it in everyday life, but then proceed to say, yeah, I treat everybody the same. I'm not racist. You know, I love everybody. When they see injustices, when oppression cannot be ignored, they manage to do just that. Pretend like it's not happening for their comfort. When you don't speak up on something, when you pretend it's not as big of an issue as it actually is, when you say, I'm a good person, you know, I treat everybody the same. So what these other white people are doing to harm and oppress other people has nothing to do with me, so I can stay quiet and just allow it to happen. That is prioritizing your comfort over justice. That is what's keeping this whole system that white people designed alive. This whole racial hierarchy. When you are scared of rejection from other white people, if you're scared to talk about these things, if you're scared to be vocal, if you're scared for people to cut off contact with you or to remove you from a friend on social media, if you're scared to be scapegoated yourself, you are fully responsible for keeping the system alive. The injustices that people of color experience are your fault, just like the rest of the majority of white people. You are not better than someone who is racist themselves because you allow it. You allow it. And if every single one of us that claims to not be racist went and took a stand, became vocal, didn't hide to protect themselves. There was uproars when a rich white person was just let go with a warning when they committed a hate crime, and we made big deals about these things because we genuinely cared. It wouldn't happen anymore. We held racist people accountable. If none of us tolerated it, no, the ones that said they're not racist, if we didn't tolerate other racists, I think we can end this whole racial hierarchy thing going on. We held cops and judges accountable. If we punished hate crimes to the fullest extent, if we had a zero tolerance policy for racism, if every racist person was blasted online by other white people, we took a stand and said we are no longer enabling other white people just because we don't want to be rejected by them. I think that this country could look a lot different. Nobody wants to do anything. Nobody wants to do anything. They want to pretend like they're doing something. They want to pretend like they care. But everybody moves about with their ego in mind. Everything is me, me, me. What will happen to me if I do this? What will happen to me if I'm vocal? What will happen to me if I'm an outcast? Who cares? Who cares if you're scapegoated? Who cares if you're an outcast? Do what's right. I just can't stand how weak people are.
You know, if you're Black and live in America, you will always have a story about an experience that you had with blatant racism. So for those of you who don't know, I served in the United States Air Force. So the year is 1984, and I had been accepted to start boot camp for the Air Force, but I needed to wait for another 6 weeks. So during the time that I'm waiting to start Air Force, I take this temporary job through a temp agency. And the temp agency calls me and they say, we have an assignment for you at a law firm. So I prepare myself, and I'm always very professional, and I put on my professional attire, and I show up to the assignment. So when I get to the assignment, it's a very small husband and wife law firm. And so I arrive early, and I walk into the law firm, and I am met with the wife. And I say to her, I'm here from blah, blah temp agency. And she had an expression on her face that I had never seen before. But this feeling came through my body. So she was a middle-aged white woman, and her husband had not gotten to the office yet. So she tells me to have a seat. Now, this assignment was for me to sit in their front office as a receptionist. The receptionist who worked there on a permanent basis went out on maternity leave, so they went to a temp agency, okay? So she goes in an office that's adjacent to the receptionist area, and I could hear her. She didn't know I could hear her, but I could hear her on the phone, and she had called her husband, and she's trying to figure out how they're gonna deal with this person in their front office. Shortly after, her husband arrives to the office, and he greets me, and then he goes in the office with his wife, and they try and gently let me know that my assignment has been terminated and that they have reached out to the temp agency. And I think I was there for no more than 30 minutes to an hour. Not one customer had arrived or anything of the sort. And I remember going home to my mom, and I was just like really confused. And you got to understand, I was 19 years old at the time, 18, 19. And I had never been so blatantly, treated in such a way. And so I told her what happened, and she gave me a really good talk about, being Black in America, and that this is the first of many situations that I'm going to have to unfortunately deal with. And in today's climate, it's much different than it was back when I was 19. We don't tolerate those types of behaviors. We speak out more. There's a lot more laws in place, and a lot of things that I don't know, I can't really say that it has diminished racism, but there's a lot more protections in place. Let me just say it that way. The reason I'm sharing this story today is that throughout my life, I'm going to be 60 here, and all of the successes that I've had in life, I went on to serve in the Air Force, and I had a very successful career. I worked my way up to a vice president at my organization, all kinds of things. But I never, ever forgot the look on that woman's face. And throughout my life and my career, I have seen that look. I've seen that look in the grocery store. I've seen that look, just walking down the street. I've seen that look at events. I know the look. We all know the look. Then to share my experience of blatant racism, and that when you see the look or you get that feeling that I got in the law office that day, it's a real thing. It's not your imagination. It's a real thing. Anyway, I love you guys. Have a great day.
Black people truly have no allies in this world. I'm an altruistic person at my core, and I truly believe that there can always be a change and a room to educate people. Why I make the kind of videos that I make. But I just saw this girl go on a 6-minute rant about how a group of Black Americans went to Palestine with her, where they shared with her and the group that they were experiencing racism from the Palestinians, to which she insinuated they should have accepted the behavior, they should have shut up about the behavior instead of playing up oppression Olympics.
Because I was so excited to go on this trip with Black Americans. But during the trip, it felt like some people were too busy playing oppression Olympics. Some people in the group were too busy victimizing themselves, that the only comments I heard come out of this person's mouth about Palestine and Palestinians were negative, were about how racist we are, were about how slavery persisted until the 20th century in Palestine, which is such an uneducated taker, and talked all this shit about how racist Palestinians are, did not hesitate to pose in front of a ginormous George Floyd mural. Because if I was somebody else, if I haven't already done so much work for the Black community, if I didn't already have a deep understanding of racial dynamics, this entire experience might have pushed me away from the Black community.
Yup.
My grandma used to always tell me, if the story doesn't make sense, then it's definitely a lie. So there's things missing in context in her whole story. But instead of actually listening to Black people, because Black people do not claim racism for no reason. Contrary to what you've all been socialized to believe, if a Black person says that someone is racist, they actually have experienced racism. The anti-Blackness that exists within the Arab community is loud. It's always been loud. This is the same issue we had when this conflict started, where people lack the ability to understand more than one thing can be true, and intersectionality is real. Black people can absolutely stand up for what they believe in and prioritize ourselves first as an oppressed group and still support others. Now, with the history of anti-Blackness within the Arab community, slavery within the Arab community with Black people, the way they treat Black people in the region and domestically in America, rightfully so, a Black person would have preconceived notions about how Arabs treat us. But when that's reinforced by the actual treatment of racism towards us, we're going to say it out loud. Black people are not going to conform and just accept racism. And you're asking people to just accept how they're treated, and they should have been quiet about how they're treated. Come on, let's be fucking for real right now. Two things can be true, and the fact that people don't understand this concept blows my mind. Palestinians can absolutely be occupied, can absolutely live under oppression, and Black people can absolutely be one of the most hated groups of people in the world, no matter where we are. Even from oppressed people. Weaponizing a George Floyd mural that Black people saw in Palestine, regardless of the fact that if they said that they were experienced racism or not, what are they going to do? They can't disappear. We're in Palestine. Black people experience racism from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, but we still have to live our lives. And you being a non-Black person who visibly can blend into white people, you will never understand that concept ever in your life. And you also can't speak on behalf of Afro-Palestinians because you're not them. Lastly, you said if you were anyone else, this would have wavered your support of Black people and Black issues. That means you're not an ally to begin with. If you don't have the ability to learn and or try to listen and or try to educate those people why what they were doing was an issue for you or maybe your community, then you don't deserve to be around Black people. You just don't. I'm sorry.
The biggest distraction to Black people in the West is our misunderstanding of race. If the white power structure was most concerned with the color of your skin, then the dark-skinned Indian woman would get called the same words that you do. If the white power structure was most concerned with your geographic location, then them white South Africans would be getting the same treatment that you do. What we don't understand is that the entire system of racism is built upon race. Systems and the institutions of racism are built upon your African ancestry, which they have tried to redefine as Blackness. And the only reason we think is because we're darker people is because African people are naturally more melanated people. The reason you catch hell in this world is not just because you have darker skin, it's because of the shape of your lips and the shape of your nose and the way your hair curls up. Which again is what I said in the other video. There's a reason why Ice Spice and Taylor Swift don't get treated the same despite being damn near the same color. Because for the most part, in the eyes of the global power structure, they're not concerned with the color of your skin. They're concerned with the people that you come from. And you know why? Because the people that you come from the most lucrative and richest continent on this planet, Africa. And because we think that colorism is the biggest tenet of racism, you don't wake up trying to do something about the prison industrial complex. You don't wake up trying to do something about imperialism. You don't wake up trying to do something about colonialism. You know what you do wake up trying to do something about? How beautiful people will think you are the next day. How much white people will like you at work. But of course, you're human. Every group of people around the world are somewhat concerned with their beauty, their social proof, or their acceptance. But in our special case, the black community is one of the only communities that will prioritize beauty and social acceptance and validation over food, shelter, and water. Peace out.
Every time something racist happens to me, as a black woman attorney in court or around the courts, I'm going to say something because I'm really tired of it. Like, I'm so tired of it. I just want to do my job. This morning, I drove an hour and 15 minutes to court. I'm going to a court in a county that is not my home county. However, I have an Ohio law license, and that law license allows me to practice anywhere in the state that I want to. And so a client who resides in the county that my law office is at decided he wanted to retain our law firm, which is a smart choice. So I say, okay, no problem. Charge a little bit more because it's going to be a little bit further of a drive, not a big deal. Know how to handle these cases, handle them every single day. Fine. I get here, I check in. I call ahead of time, by the way, because, you want to make sure that you know exactly what the court rules are, what the process is for turning in clients who have warrants. You just want to be confident in what you're doing because preparation is key. So I do that. I set it all up, talk to pretrial services, everything good to go. They know we're coming. He's on the docket. I go in to check into the courtroom to basically say, hey, I'm here. I see a woman, the judge is already on the bench. So I see a lady in the courtroom handling the files. Literally, got the files open, is going through things, whatever. So I say, that seems like a person that knows what's going on and works here. So I shall ask her quietly, where do I check in? Maybe it's with you, maybe it's with someone else. I'm not sure, but you clearly have the court files, so let me check in here. I whisper, okay? I'm not loud, I'm not interrupting. I'm saying, excuse me, good morning. I'm attorney Leslie Johns. I'm here to check in for an arraignment. My client is here. And the judge says, stops court. She's addressing someone. She stops court. She says, are you okay? To the clerk. The clerk says, yeah. She says, do you know her? And the clerk says, well, no. Because you don't know me. She doesn't know me. Like, of course, no. And she's like, well, ma'am, have a seat. And I'm like, ma'am, have a seat. And so I say, well, just an attorney trying to check in. And I sit down. And she says, oh, well, the bailiff will come and help you. Okay. That's literally what I was trying to accomplish. I was just going to ask her who I should check in with, but you didn't have to stop court. I just asked a question. And she said, I was just concerned. I was just scared because you were approaching the clerk. Scared. So before someone comes for me in the comments and says, well, maybe you didn't look like an attorney, because that's happened before when I posted these videos. I'm wearing a suit. This is a suit. I've got heels on and suit pants. So at that point, there's a courtroom full of people. So I am embarrassed and kind of mortified because I'm trying to process in real time what's happening. And so my mind is racing and I'm thinking, okay, whoa. Okay, so basically you thought that you didn't think that I was a lawyer. Let's just start there, okay? You did not think that I was a lawyer. You made the assumption that I was not. Although I had breached the back rows of where all of the defendants were sitting. I had breached that at that point and was like boldly, because the lawyers do, right? And so I had breached that point and I was already up there. So wow, that would the audacity for someone who is not an attorney to do that. But then you didn't even like ask the bailiff to be like, hey, can you assist her? Like, figure out what's going on. I sit on the bench as a magistrate and I do that. Someone comes in the courtroom and I'm on the bench and I'll just say to my bailiff, hey, check in, see what's going on with them. Like, do they need something? What's going on? Instead, you loudly accused me of being threatening towards a court staff. Because why else? What do you mean? You were scared for her? What was I going to do? And so then I eventually get called. I eventually get called up. And it's after, wait. Because after that, I sit down, the bailiff comes to me, approaches me, hands me the files like, oh, yeah, hi, thank you. I called ahead of time, like, hey, nice to meet you. Cool. We'll call you next. I'll put your file up. The prosecutor calls about 10 more people before he calls me, after the bailiff had walked the file, put it in the pile right there. The prosecutor calls all these names and then says, at the end of calling all the names that no one answered to, calls my client's name and then says, well, they say that he has an attorney, but I don't see her. I'm sitting in the front row, right here. The bailiff just addressed me and handed the file and said that we were ready. What do you mean you don't see her? Oh, well, oh. And then, so I'm like, hello, right here. Then he says, oh, well, oh, I didn't recognize her. Okay. So I get up there, and before I go, the judge says, hey, one moment, to my client. I would like to talk to your lawyer. She calls me up to the bench and she apologizes profusely. And this is the situation that I'm put in because you've already humiliated me in front of a courtroom full of people and made me feel this big and like I am just some random lady here, which, by the way, you should also treat random ladies with respect. But you call me up in front of everyone to your bench and, like, I suppose try to whisper an apology because the whole room is listening and we're on the record, by the way. And I am supposed to receive it and accept it and move on because I now have to address the warrant that my client has for an offense of violence and make sure that he gets a personal bond. So I cannot say what I want to say to you in this moment because that could impact my client and also, I guess, my ability to practice in this courtroom. But I am highly upset and highly offended and humiliated. But I just have to turn it off and do my job. And that is what we call inherent bias. That is what we call microaggressions. That is what we call racism in the criminal justice system. And I just taught a class the other day on race in the criminal justice system and basically tried to explain to a class of first-year law students how even putting people of color in place in the justice system will not fix the issue because I am a black woman in the justice system who's been in it for 11 years. And this happens to me still to this day, 11 years later, in 2026. Happy Black History Month.
There is a special type of discrimination that Black Americans face, and I feel as continental Africans or first generation, second generation, whatever you want to call us, we have to acknowledge it. This conversation about the modeling industry and dark-skinned Africans and how a lot of you guys are saying, like, you guys are just being colorist, you guys are just being colorist. Like, this is the one area where they are overrepresented and now you guys have a problem. I just don't understand why you guys are making it so easy for the modeling industry to remain racist as fuck. Because as somebody who transitioned from model to casting director, so I see both sides of it, I promise you, you're not making the point you think you're making. These modeling agencies will have every single variation of white girl. Every single variation you can think of. And they mix up the skin tone, the hair color, the eye color, every single variation, and then multiple of them of that singular variation. Blonde hair, green eyes, freckles. Blonde hair, blue eyes, freckles, red hair, green eyes, freckles. They have every single variation of white girl you can think of. And then when it gets to the Black models, they'll have maybe one or two biracial women, one or two Black women that just look like unambiguously Black American, and then maybe like 3 Sudanese models or like dark-skinned East African models. So it's like, if you can have like 50 white models and they check off every single variation that you can think of, you can have more than 5 black models and only 2 of them might look African American. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's room on your roster for more black American models. Why are you acting like there's not? Me and so many of the black models that I was coming up with at the time we were all trying to get signed were getting turned away constantly because they had literally just one model who kind of looked like us. Kind of, meaning she just was unambiguously black. That was it. And this isn't just in the modeling industry. Even when you break down like college, like black representation amongst college campuses, you would think that like, oh, they have a good amount of black students, and then you actually get the numbers down, the breakdown of, okay, how many of them are Nigerian or West Indian or whatever, and you will see that black Americans are such a small population of the black community in so many college campuses. And then anytime somebody tries to correct and be like, no, this isn't fair, like, where's the black American representation? We always do this whole like kumbaya, we're all black, like da 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 da. And I'm just kind of like, it's very dismissive, and I just don't think that you guys are making the point you think you're making. You know what I'm saying? And I just personally, I've been peeping this since college, but I think as black immigrants, first gen, second gen, we are way too comfortable being the only representation for black people in non-black spaces. And then we're also really comfortable being overrepresented in black spaces. Like, we'll just do it and not really think about it. And we think that it's a lack of effort or ambition on the part of black Americans. I think it's way more systemic than we realize. And I think we're just very dismissive.
Anyways, thank you so much for watching to this point, guys, and I really do appreciate you guys. So you guys, from the clip that I actually wrote out for you guys, please drop for me in the comment section if racism is still roaming about like a devil today in America, or it is not. Because I don't know where that woman actually came out with that illustration of saying, oh, racism died long time ago. Racism died with the is it Gen Z or whatever that she called it. You know, whenever they are trying to justify something, they are trying to make it glorify, trying to make it look like, oh yes, there is nothing like that literally existed. But anyways, even in today's day, racism still affects black people, and it is still happening in the United States of America. Like, and though it often looked differently than it did during slavery era or the era of Jim Crow laws. And the first part that I have here first is the criminal justice system, where black people are disproportionately stopped by police, arrested, and given long sentence compared to white Americans for similar offense. High profile cases like the killing of George Floyd have brought global attention to this disparity. Are we talking about the economic inequality, where on average black households have significantly less wealth than a white household? This gap is tied to historical factors like housing discrimination, redlining, and unequal access to opportunities. Are we going to be talking about the educations and school, where schools in predominantly black neighborhoods are often underfunded, which affects resources, teachers' qualities, and long-term opportunities? Are we going to be talking about the employment discrimination, where studies have shown the jobs applicants with black surroundings name may receive fewer callbacks than those with white surroundings name with even identical qualification? I'm going to be talking about the healthcare disparities, where black Americans often received lower quality healthcare and have higher rates of certain illness and maternal mentality. I'm going to be talking about the everyday experience, where racism can also appear in subtle way because followed in stores, treated with suspicion, or facing stereotypes. At the same time, it is important to note that these have literally been happening for days, and this is what stirred up the movements like the Black Lives Matters, which have been pushed for change and awareness. So the reality still remain. Racism hasn't disappeared. It has evolved. It is still happening directly, and a lot of black people are experiencing it directly in America. So whenever I see people saying, "Oh, let's forget about it," there's no longer racism. Americans are already doing well for themselves. Whenever I see some white folks always saying that, "Oh, even black people can be racist. It is not only us that can be racist. Why are you always tagging racism to us? Why are you always making it look as if we are the major cause of the problem?" These things still exist. It still exists in America. That's just the honest truth. It has never gone out. And that is why I keep talking about the opinion of even slavery has never gone out of America. No matter how people are trying to justify it, no matter how they are trying to say, "Oh, there is nothing like that anymore." They are just trying to modernize it. We still see people being policed around in stores. We still see people being asked that, "Where are you going in the neighborhood?" In 2026, we still see police officers stopping people unnecessarily just because your skin color is black, while on a normal sense they will not stop their fellow white person. So racism is still in vogue. Racism is still happening till date. Racism will continue to happen until white people decide to change. And one thing I've already know is, even if some white people decide to change, we will still have some that will literally not want to change no matter how the reason is. They don't care. They don't see anything wrong in what they are literally doing. But anyways, let me know what you think in the comment section, and credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. And yes, with that being said, with no further ado, I do like I always say in my videos, I am going to be saying bye, and I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye guys. I love you guys. Mwah.